When we talk about operating systems in 2025, the debate between Windows and Linux is no longer just a niche discussion among developers or tech enthusiasts. It has become a mainstream topic because the way people use computers has changed dramatically. From casual users and gamers to content creators, software developers, students, businesses, and even governments, everyone now depends on their operating system for productivity, privacy, performance, and long-term reliability. In this video, we are going to dive deep into a full comparison of Windows and Linux in 2025, covering real-world performance, security, usability, software support, gaming, professional workloads, updates, customization, system requirements, and long-term value. By the end of this detailed discussion, you will clearly understand which operating system is truly the best for different types of users in 2025 and beyond. Let's start by understanding what Windows and Linux represent today. Windows, developed by Microsoft, has been the dominant desktop operating system for decades. In 2025, Windows 11 has matured significantly, and Microsoft continues to push updates focused on AI integration, cloud services, and deep ecosystem connectivity, with tools like Microsoft 365, OneDrive Copilot, and Azure-backed features. Windows is designed to be a universal platform that works out of the box for most users, whether they are gaming, working, or studying. Linux, on the other hand, is not a single operating system but a family of distributions built on the Linux kernel. Popular distributions in 2025 include Ubuntu, Linux, Mint Fedora, Debian, Zorin, OS, Pop! OS, Arch-based systems, and many more. Linux represents freedom, control, transparency, and efficiency. It has grown massively in usability and polish over the years, making it more accessible than ever to everyday users. Now let's talk about performance, which is one of the most important factors when choosing an operating system. In 2025, hardware has become incredibly powerful, but software efficiency still matters a lot. Windows is optimized for a wide range of hardware, especially modern systems with TPM, Secure Boot, and newer CPUs. On high-end machines, Windows 11 performs smoothly for most tasks, including multitasking, heavy applications, gaming, and creative workloads. However, Windows still runs a lot of background services, telemetry processes, and system tasks that consume CPU, RAM, and disk resources. On older or low-end hardware, Windows can feel heavy, slow to boot, and less responsive, especially after multiple updates and long-term use. Linux, by comparison, is widely known for its lightweight nature and efficiency. In 2025, many Linux distributions can run smoothly on hardware that struggles with modern Windows versions. Linux gives users the freedom to choose desktop environments that match their hardware capabilities. From lightweight environments like XFCE and LXQT, to modern and visually rich environments like GNOME and KDE Plasma. On the same hardware, Linux often boots faster, uses less RAM at idle, and feels more responsive in day-to-day tasks. For developers and power users, Linux performance shines even more because it handles background tasks, package management, and system processes very efficiently. In servers, cloud computing, and enterprise environments, Linux continues to dominate due to its stability and performance under heavy loads. Gaming is another major area where the Windows versus Linux debate has evolved significantly. Traditionally, Windows was the undisputed king of PC gaming, and in 2025, it still holds a strong advantage in this area. Most AAA games are developed primarily for Windows, and game studios optimize their titles for DirectX and Windows drivers. Windows offers native support for popular gaming platforms like Steam, Epic Games Store, Xbox App, and Game Pass. Features like DirectX 12 Ultimate, ray tracing, DLSS, and advanced driver support from NVIDIA and AMD make Windows the best choice for gamers who want maximum compatibility and performance with minimal effort. That said, Linux gaming has improved dramatically by 2025. Thanks to Valve's Proton, Steam Play, and ongoing driver improvements, thousands of Windows-only games now run on Linux, with impressive performance. Many popular titles run nearly as well as they do on Windows, and in some cases, even better. Native Linux games and Vulkan-based titles perform exceptionally well. However, Linux still faces challenges with certain anti-cheat systems and some proprietary launchers. Competitive online games with strict anti-cheat software may not work perfectly or at all on Linux. For casual and single-player gamers, Linux is now a very viable option, but for hardcore competitive gamers who want guaranteed compatibility with every new release, Windows remains the safer choice. Next, let's discuss security, which is one of the strongest arguments in favor of Linux. In 2025, cybersecurity threats are more advanced than ever, with ransomware, phishing, spyware, and zero-day exploits becoming increasingly common. Windows, due to its massive user base, is the primary target for malware developers. Microsoft has significantly improved Windows security with built-in tools like Windows Defender, Secure Boot, BitLocker, virtualization-based security, and frequent security patches. For most users, Windows Defender is now good enough to provide solid protection without needing third-party antivirus software. However, Windows still remains more vulnerable simply because it is the most widely used desktop operating system, making it an attractive target. Linux, by contrast, benefits from its Unix-based permission system, open-source nature, and smaller desktop market share. Malware targeting Linux desktops is far less common, and most Linux distributions are designed with security in mind. Software is typically installed from trusted repositories rather than random websites, which greatly reduces the risk of malicious programs. The open-source community constantly reviews code, identifies vulnerabilities, and patches issues quickly. In professional environments, Linux is trusted for critical infrastructure, servers, and security-sensitive systems. While no operating system is completely immune to threats, Linux offers a higher level of security and control, especially for users who understand how to manage permissions and system updates properly. Privacy is another major concern in 2025, and this is where Linux clearly stands out. Windows collects a significant amount of telemetry data, including usage statistics, diagnostics, and system information. While Microsoft claims this data is used to improve the user experience and security, many users are uncomfortable with the level of data collection. Although some privacy settings can be adjusted, completely disabling telemetry in Windows is difficult for the average user. Linux distributions, on the other hand, are generally privacy-respecting by default. Most Linux systems do not collect personal data or usage metrics without explicit user consent. This makes Linux a preferred choice for privacy-conscious users, journalists, researchers, and anyone who values digital independence. Now let's move on to software availability and compatibility. Windows has a massive advantage in this area. Almost every commercial software application is available for Windows, including Adobe, Creative Cloud, Microsoft Office, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, popular accounting software, and countless industry-specific tools. For professionals in fields like graphic design, video editing, engineering, architecture, and business, Windows is often the most practical choice because it guarantees compatibility with required software. Hardware support is also excellent, with most printers, scanners, webcams, and specialized devices offering Windows drivers. Linux has made huge progress in software availability, especially in open source and professional development tools. In 2025, Linux offers powerful alternatives to many popular Windows applications. LibreOffice, GIMP, Krita Blender, DaVinci Resolve, and Inkscape provide strong options for productivity and creative work. For developers, Linux is often the preferred platform, offering native support for programming languages, containerization tools, virtualization, and cloud development. However, some proprietary software still lacks native Linux support, and while compatibility layers like Wine can help, they are not always perfect. For users who depend heavily on specific Windows-only applications, this can be a major limitation. Usability and user experience have become key factors in 2025, especially for new users. Windows is designed to be familiar and easy to use. The interface, file management, and system settings are straightforward for most people. Windows offers a consistent experience across devices and integrates seamlessly with Microsoft's ecosystem. However, Windows updates can sometimes be disruptive, forcing restarts or introducing unwanted changes. Over time, Windows systems may also feel cluttered due to pre-installed apps, advertisements, and system notifications. Linux usability depends heavily on the distribution and desktop environment. In 2025, Many Linux distributions are extremely user-friendly and visually polished. Distributions like Linux, Mint, Zorin OS, and Ubuntu are designed specifically to welcome Windows users, offering intuitive layouts and smooth experiences. Linux allows deep customization, letting users tailor the system exactly to their preferences. At the same time, Linux may require a learning curve for tasks like installing software, managing drivers, or troubleshooting issues, especially for users who are not familiar with basic system concepts. For users willing to learn, Linux can be incredibly rewarding, but for those who want everything to just work without effort, Windows may feel more comfortable. Updates and system maintenance are another area where the two systems differ greatly. Windows updates are centralized and automatic, which can be both a strength and a weakness. On one hand, users receive regular security patches and feature updates without much effort. On the other hand, updates can be large, time-consuming, and sometimes cause unexpected issues. Many users have experienced situations where a Windows update breaks drivers, slows down performance, or changes system behavior. Linux handles updates in a more transparent and controlled way. Most distributions allow users to update the entire system, including the operating system and applications, through a single package manager. Updates are usually smaller, faster, and less intrusive. Users can choose when and how to update, which is especially valuable for professionals and servers. This level of control makes Linux more stable over the long term, especially for users who prefer consistency over frequent visual changes. Hardware support in 2025 is strong on both platforms, but with some differences. Windows generally offers better plug-and-play support for new hardware, especially consumer devices and gaming peripherals. Manufacturers almost always release Windows drivers first. Linux hardware support has improved significantly, and most modern hardware works out of the box, especially on mainstream distributions. However, very new or niche hardware may require additional configuration on Linux. For older hardware, Linux often provides better support and performance, extending the life of aging computers. Cost is another important factor. Windows typically requires a paid license, either pre-installed on a device or purchased separately. While the cost may not seem high for individual users, it adds up for businesses and organizations. Linux is free and open source, with no licensing fees. This makes Linux extremely attractive for schools, startups, governments, and users in developing regions who want powerful computing without additional costs. So now comes the big question: which is the best operating system in 2025? The honest answer is that it depends on your needs. If you are a gamer who wants the best compatibility, a professional who relies on specific commercial software, or a user who prefers a familiar, polished experience with minimal setup, Windows is still the best choice. It offers unmatched software support, strong gaming performance, and a user-friendly environment that works for most people. However, if you value performance, efficiency, security, privacy, customization, and long-term stability, Linux is an incredibly strong option in 2025. For developers, tech enthusiasts, students, and privacy-conscious users, Linux may actually be the better operating system. It gives you full control over your system, runs efficiently on almost any hardware, and continues to improve rapidly with community-driven innovation. In conclusion, Windows versus Linux in 2025 is no longer a simple battle with one clear winner. Windows remains the dominant choice for mainstream users, gamers, and professionals tied to proprietary software. Linux has evolved into a powerful, modern, and accessible platform that can easily replace Windows for many users and even outperform it in certain areas. The best operating system is the one that aligns with your workflow, values, and expectations. Whether you choose Windows or Linux, the good news is that in 2025, both platforms are more capable than ever, giving users the freedom to choose how they want to compute in an increasingly digital world.